Yes, audible.
May I present, madam? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, madam, for your welcome. Namaste and good morning to you all. Me, Professor RAJ Acharya from Tiruvan University of Nepal. Distinguish all the member of organizing committee, paper presenter, participant, or resource person, keynote speaker. At first, I'd like to welcome in my presentation. As a director of Graduate School of Education, first, I would like to share some glimpse of Tiruvan University. Second, I share some idea of assessment practice in higher education in the globe and then Nepal. At last, I would like to share result of my research project related with assessment practice in higher education institution, especially Tiruvan University, Nepal, along with its purpose framework. So, again, I would like to thank the organizing committee to invite me to present my paper. My title of my paper is Transforming Assessment Practice in Higher Education. Now, I want to share my slide. Yes, my slide is here. I think it is here. The please my slide. Yeah, it is visible. So my title, yes, surely, yes, and the title of my presentation is Transfer, especially in Tribhuvan University, Nepal. Uh, As a director of Graduate School of Education, Tribhuvan University, Nepal, first office of Tribhuvan University, where our vice chancellor is situated there. And this is, we have a 41 department. Among them, some department is here along with my center department of education.
Slides are not
Yes,
changing, sir. Not moving.
yes, yes. It's moving.
Sir,
Not
Doctor
visible.
Vedraj Acharya.
Why? It is moving.
Now there is no screen share, sir.
Yes. It's visible or move. Yes. 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 Uh, it is visible.
Yes, sir, visible.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, this is the 41 center department along with my department, center department of education. And this is the College of Education. Before starting Tribhuvan University, the College of Education is established with the help of United States of America in 1956. And Tribhuvan University periphery bird eye view. That's the that's my university, and yes, the context assessment practice in higher education. Assessment of student learning is one of the component of total teaching and learning process. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. Yes, it
No,
is
sir, you
visible.
haven't shared your
Yes,
screen now.
it's a problem. When I go in slides here, hmm, when I, yeah, without presentation mode. Yes. Of total gathering of information to make decision or judgment about an individual's performance on the intended curricular cover a broader area and number of procedures undertaken to make decision about individuals. In Nepal, there is an urgent need to reform the higher education system to meet the standard of international education system. Realizing this fact, Tribhuvan University shifted the annual system to semester system, expecting that the semester system is significant change in Nepalese higher education system. Implementation of new course in the new education system is possible due to trend of globalization of education. Bishra et al. 2019 claimed that. It's, it's some problem in my screen. Realizing that we can also use different type of alternative assessment technique like assessment of learning, assessment for learning, and assessment as learning, and assessment in learning. That means we Tribhuvan University as a global, we practice the assessment in assessment for a learning, then assessment of learning, then assessment as learning, and assessment in learning. So I want to share some practice of assessment for learning effectively and make it possible to use a variety of assessment tool for formative purpose. It is also necessary to mitigate teacher burden on student in a class. Assessment for learning helps student in a class. Assessment for learning helps students to develop a multiple intelligence. Suggested that there are 8 types of intelligence of our students. So we want to share some perspective of assessment for learning. In the changing context of Nepal, reform the higher education was to shift. It needs to shift. We feel our education system is shifted from teaching to learning, knowing to doing, knowledge to skill, and degree to disciplinary identity, written examination to diversify assessment. So we revisit our education system to meet the international standard of our education. The fundamental question is that how are assessment practiced to the student in the classroom? Is the assessment system shift is a changing scenario of education system? In this context, this paper tried to explore the assessment practice among students in higher education and envisioning to promote student-friendly assessment practice in changing context of education system in the world in general and Tribhuvan University in particular. Assessment maintaining special justice in the classroom. Teachers should have good skill and understanding of using assessment for learning to address the equity issue. That means we can address the equity, we can use assessment for learning. They need to know how to conduct assessment for enhancing social justice skill. Assessment for social justice may take inspiration from student work that are used as an assessment for learning. Assessments serve as a powerful driver for greater social justice within through higher education. Suitable policy and reflective practice is needed for developing social justice in higher education institution. Classroom assessment is the key of social justice. Classroom assessment is important for learning. The reason is through classroom assessment, teacher can collect information from their student, skill and degree of understanding to make decision for further instruction. Teacher adopt instruction to their student demand and create an appropriate learning environment for them. In their classroom assessment is an integrated part of teacher to improve student achievement. Ass- Assessment for learning associated with constructivist view of learning aim to understand how the learners learn, what the learner can do or cannot do, and how to help the learner learn. That is uh, related with Vygotsky social constructivism that emphasize that the ZPD, zone of proximal development and scaffolding. So we as a teacher educated, we follow the assessment for learning to assess the student's performance. And there are some technique for assessment for learning. In this regards, Berry 2008 suggested that assessment for learning mainly focus on using teacher practice of the classroom tasks to collect authentic evidence on student learning. It connects assessment and learning strongly. The student activities and engagement are taken seriously in assessment for learning. Teachers use different techniques of assessment for learning is pre-test. There are some techniques to apply the assessment for learning, that is pre-test, observation, oral questioning, homework, classwork, quiz, independent investigation to perform performance tests and end of unit tests. We can use this type of technique for assessment for learning of the students. And assessment, feedback, and learning. What are the relation between assessment for learning, feedback, and learning? In this regards, Prof 2008 argued that teacher and student use assessment for learning during instruction, and teacher provide feedback to student for the improvement of intended instructional learning achievement. Feedback, the main feature of assessment, and assessment as learning is essential in the learning process. In this line, Dane 2014 also argued that the process of feedback constrains superior knowledge and understanding empathy of how learner learn, knowledge of constructing taste, ability of evaluation skill of the students. There are three principles of assessment for learning. How this principle used in our classroom teaching. The authors, Acharya 2007, has presented three core principles of assessment for learning. The first principle, formative assessment and classroom instruction are not separate entities. It goes simultaneously. And in this regard, formative assessment or assessment for learning or assessment is learning or assessment in learning should help a teacher determine what the student are getting, what they are missing, and what need to happen next. That is the first principle related with assessment for learning. The second principle, which is suggested Acharya 2007, affirmative assessment required constructive feedback. It needs to constructive feedback. That the Vygotsky suggested zona proximal development. That zona proximal development means what the learner learn themselves, and they learn with the help of other more knowledgeable other. The gap between the more learn the learner more without support and with the help of other, and it's also scaffolding. Second principle, the feedback is considered synonymous to assessment for learning. Is constructive feedback promote student learning. The feedback should be honest. We give the feedback. Our educator should be honest, precise, and timely. The third principle is formative assessment, foster student active participation in the lesson or subject matter. That means we try to engage our student in a real classroom setting. Assessment for learning develop positive attitude toward learning. We follow different types of strategy to apply assessment for learning. At that moment, the student can do more mistake, and to correct this mistake, we have our learner is learn more. That means assessment for learning mistake are an inevitable parts of learning, and their mistake do not affect their final grades. In this line, what assessment for learning, assessing teacher and students, learning process at all level of education. It increase academic achievement and positive attitude to the classroom. And assessment of learning inform the error and increase the level of understanding. That means it is not a summative type of assessment. So the student do various type of error while learning their subject matter or while constructing the knowledge, and gradually that knowledge, that error can be removed with the help of our expert or teacher. It provides student with an opportunity. In this line, the one of the researcher or scholar carry out a research, the Dr. J.B. Pradhan 2021 carry out a research, and he concluded that the assessment for learning provides students with an opportunity to get informed about their errors and can improve their level of understanding of content. Similarly, he further claimed that, however, some teachers are not ready to face the challenges and enjoy the process which they have been practicing for a long period. Stakeholders should be motivated with commitment and determination to apply assessment for learning or that alternative assessment system strategy while teaching learning process. Likewise, the other authors, Yamsia 3, 2016 view that assessment for learning support to achieve the social justice in higher education. Our model of assessment for learning, assessment and self-assessment. When we the T in this model, the question asking question to the student, and student also asks the question to the teacher. It goes simultaneously or vice versa in both the model. in the classroom. Student respond to the question in the highlight their students and teacher iterative in the classroom. It's not a fix, it is flexible in which students have an active role to think and produce knowledge. Asking question give the student an opportunity for deeper thinking and engaging in the classroom to develop critical thinking, critical thinking, creativity to the student in a teaching learning process through using the assessment for learning. And this is the same thing. And the other model is that is a feedback model. Teacher give feedback to their student to work immediately. It is a continuous process. It is not the end of our teaching and learning process. It is when we teach something and we give the feedback to the student. If they do error or mistake at that moment, we can give our student immediately. Then the student can learn meaningful to their subject matter. And the third is peer assessment. Peer assessment provide feedback from one student to the other student on the basis of product. That means it helps to collaborate to student and students and to exchange their knowledge which they learn, which we have, because all students are not same. They have an individual difference. The Harvard Gardner suggested to us there are 8 types of intelligence. So the intelligence which have one person, one type of intelligence, the other person have other type of intelligence. And that moment we can share to each other by using the share. That means peer assessment. The last model is self-assessment. That self-assessment means student assess their one output or learning result on self-assessment. And Boger 2018 suggested that learner ontological consciousness is refined and learning is stimulated. That means self-assessment is applied only with the formative purpose to empower the student to learn. Similarly, self-assessment is to explain different practice throughout the class. Students examine the quality of their own learning procedure and result. It is formative process focused on student reflection on their learning. And from this above literature, that globally literature, I design one designing of transformative assessment. That means we have to gradually transform our assessment system. First is assessment of learning, then it transformed to the assessment for learning, and then assessment in learning, and then we introduce is a assessment is learning. From this above literature, I visualize, I constructed to gather all the literature, and we develop a kind of framework is a formative type of assessment. In this figure, the problem work, we can pose the problem, real world problem relevant to student, specific, doable, and contextual. We have to design the problem assessment. And that assessment, it is not only the paper pencil test type of assessment, formative, summative type of assessment. It will be article review, book review, reflective writing, critical paper writing, project work, argumentative paper, research work, textual analysis, and sharing to each other, and we can apply, and we do to obtain this thing. We set certain objective, certain strategy to obtain this objective, and we have to evaluate we focus our evaluation, our assessment system is not only focused on the lower level thinking skill. We focus to higher order thinking skill while designing the assessment, and we test the mastery of knowledge and skill that is on the basis of subjective and objective set of questions. From the above literature, globally and nationally, I attempt after review the literature, then I concluded that means I reframing that Nepal Ministry of Education 2016 realized that formative assessment being used by very few teachers to systematically guide, improve, and adopt their teaching. It is true that implementation of formative assessment by teacher has not been brought into appropriate action in their classroom practice. So, realizing this fact, what in what way have the teacher and student been adopting the assessment practice in higher education? Nepal. How have teacher inviting the student-friendly assessment practice in higher education so that it helps to transform the higher education system? To answer this question, I was motivated to carry out the research project and wrote this paper and present now. My paper, my research is based on multi research paradigm that is especially interpretivism and criticalism. And my approach is ethnography approach, study site, 3 constitute campus of Kathmandu Valley, Nepal. Selection of participant, we have selected all the participant from purposive selection of participant. 3 teacher educators who have long experience of teaching at higher education institution, and 6 students study in the 4th semester or YAMED at the time of data collection. 6 teacher educators and 15 students for focus group discussion. Gender was balanced. In-depth interview, uh, uh, focus group discussion, and classroom observation is my main tools of this research. And data analysis, processing and analysis, field notes, recording, memorizing, picture and transcribing data, and we follow Thomas 2006 general inductive method to analyze the data, and finally we that means we coded, we generate a theme, core category, and last generate the theme. Then finally analyze the data by linking various findings of the literature related with assessment of learning, for learning, in learning, age learning, and different theories, and using the manually as well as young people software. Then the result of the discussion, result and discussion, that is assess my first research question or objective related with assessment practice in higher education. Well, the gradually the assessment system or practice of assessment system is gradually changing in the context of Nepal, especially Tribhuvan University in Nepal, such as assessment of learning, then shift to assessment for learning and assessment as learning. Gradually, we follow the diversify assessment and is the key for student learning. Use of summative assessment is for formative assessment tools. Some teacher still also use the formative assessment. They say that I use formative assessment, but they follow the summative assessment tool. For example, we have a provision paper to conduct a seminar, but at that moment, teacher also take exam, paper pencil exam. That's why some teacher were also mismatched as a formative as well as summative assessment. Alternative assessment try to apply as alternative assessment, but it is the stage of paradoxical phase, which is more better. That is still some teacher will be confusion about it. Engaging student in classroom through formative assessment, that is assessment for learning, and gradually shifting assessment in the classroom practice such as project work, classwork, homework, attendance, unit test, remedial support, extracurricular activity, field visit, and group discussion. They apply in our students. And practice of comprehension, that means the other question or research question or objective related with the student friendly assessment for the better learning. At that moment we concluded that practice the comprehensive assessment system. That means the teacher have the student have a multiple intelligence, the student have a diversified student, so that we use only paper pencil test. At that moment it is not better to evaluate the student multiple intelligence, so that we follow the comprehensive assessment system. Those student or person who have a different skill, at that moment we evaluate the student in that way. So we practice, some teacher, some institution practice the comprehensive assessment system, multiple assessment modality for making better semester system or better higher education. Engaging student in classroom through formative assessment, summative assessment, assessment in learning, assessment as learning, as well as assessment for learning. Through implementing culture-friendly assessment in incorporating local knowledge of the student, because we give the projector based on our community. At that moment we can the assessment is more student culture friendly, avoiding the rote memorization while practicing the assessment. Follow the multiple way to assess the student performance, providing appropriate teacher training for assessing the student performance. And fully apply learning. And I propose from the discussion we have the certain activities which is seen in the left side, and we can evaluate the students in improve, need to improve, and we can provide the assessment on the basis of lesson objective. Then we our objective is in this way, and we have give the detailed information, and we give the certain resource such as books, article, seminar paper, conference paper. We provide our students, and preparation, they prepares the work sheet, mind map, projector, that other thing we can prepare, and the student get or construct a more knowledge our semester system. So it's a very good learning. Now what I concluded from this research, implementation of assessment for learning effectively, to use a variety of assessment tools for formative purpose. It mitigate teacher burden while of teaching hours and adjust the number of students in the class. That means formative assessment, if we apply the best way or good way to the formative assessment, at that moment we do not feel any burden to teach our student. Assessment and learning goes simultaneously. So we implement continuous assessment system, assessment for learning, assessment is learning, assessment in learning. Then we can remove the burden of our teaching. Gradually, our assessment system or gradually we shift the assessment practice from assessment of learning to assessment for learning, and assessment is learning. Focus to addressing higher order thinking to construct the newer knowledge. That means, while we think what is the higher order thinking skill to at that moment our assessment system is more student friendly. Diversify assessment promoting social justice is a still paradoxical pages. Use of comprehensive assessment help students record their progress, which is opening stage of the implement. For promoting assessment for learning, use of student-friendly assessment through the use of multi-method learning and use accordingly to assess the student performance. Lastly, the take-home key message of my research project is for transformation of education system need to transform the assessment system through use of assessment for learning, assessment in learning, and assessment is learning. And we use all type of learning aids we needed to develop the multiple intelligence to the student. That is my take listening my presentation. There is some technical problem to share slide show more. I cannot show that. Thank you. I stop my presentation. Yes. If you have any query, please raise your hand and say your inquiry. Thank you. Yes, yes. The our Shri Prasad Ghimire sir ask something? Sri sir, can you say any query?
Yes, thank you, best sir. Respected organizers and all the participants from different universities. It's me, Sri Prasad Giri from Tribhuvan University. By the way, my this video has some problems, so it is difficult to show my videos, open these videos. So I want to ask or my queries without turning on these videos. Uh, Actually, sir has presented by collecting different information related to Tribhuvan University and the colleges under the Tribhuvan University. This is good practices about the assessment of the learning in Tribhuvan universities. There are different multiple practices as sir has presented here. It's very good presentation and wonderful presentations, and we are very enlightened from his presentation. From this presentation, I want to ask, or this is my one queries. There are different policies which are organized or which are manipulated, given by the universities. Is this match between the uh, university policies and the classroom practices in different colleges in the in different colleges of Nepal's under that Tribhuvan University? Is this match? Is the policies are match, or is there any differences? Or colleges has performed more better than the universities has allocated or provided the different policies mentioned in different policy? Is this similar or different? How did you find any similarities or difference? This is my queries. Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
yes. That's your very genuine query and very relevant. There is some gap between policy and practice, assessment practice in higher education as well as school education in Nepal. That the policy, the system we can apply in school level, but I already told in my presentation to use the tool of formative assessment to assessment at that time they use just like a paper pencil test, 3 hour paper classroom. The policy and practice in school level, the basic level is continuous assessment system, and in the newly implemented integrated curriculum in the school level, the provision of policy is no need to take the examination. Still use the paper pencil test. At that moment, it is mismatch some gap between theory and practice situation. That is the real practice situation. Thank you for your very genuine question. Thank you, Shri.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yes, yes. If there is no any other question, then someone, if you have any experience, You write in chat box, and our sir is facing some issue. Yes, sir is facing some issue in sharing when he start slideshow. You may please use the. Yeah, that is better. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
Good morning, sir. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes. Yes, madam. Yes.
Sir, if we could have email for sir's, we can put up the queries little later also through email. I would highly appreciate if we can have email. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes. May I leave, sir? May I leave this meeting, sir? Yes, thank you, sir, for your invitation and chance to share my knowledge. And I highly acknowledge to you. Thank you to you all. Namaste. Goodbye.